Tonight I stop fixing everyone else's problems and start fixing my own life. The hotel receipt glowed under my desk lamp like a neon confession at 2:47 a.m. Fontainebleau Resort, Miami Beach, Presidential Suite, $12,800 for 3 nights. Problem was, my wife Brooke had spent those 3 nights at what she called a critical energy sector training seminar in Atlanta. I'm Adrian Pierce, 41 years old, master electrician and owner of Riverside Electrical Services here in Riverside, Texas. 18 years building this business from nothing, 2 kids and a craftsman house that creaks like my knees when I roll out of bed at 5 a.m. You know what it's like being the reliable guy? You're the one everyone calls when their world goes dark. Power outage during a storm? Call Adrian. Electrical fire threatening the family business? Adrian's your man. But somehow, while I was busy keeping everyone else's lights on, my own wife was living in the shadows. I've always been steady. Built Riverside Electrical from a one-man operation working out of a beat-up Ford pickup to a legitimate business with 6 full-time employees and annual revenue pushing $1 million. Not bad for a guy who started with nothing but calloused hands and a willingness to crawl through any attic or basement in East Texas. While other guys my age chased get-rich-quick schemes or complained about their jobs, I was building something real, something that would last. Now I'm sitting here at my kitchen table, wondering how my wife of 19 years managed to blow nearly $3,000 on a Miami Beach resort, while supposedly learning about renewable energy protocols in Georgia. The math doesn't add up, and if there's one thing an electrician knows, it's that when the numbers don't match the circuit diagram, something's seriously wrong. The house was dead quiet except for the AC cycling on, working overtime against the Texas heat even in January. Brooke had rolled in 4 hours ago, looking sun-kissed and relaxed in that particular way that comes from a beach vacation, not a conference room. She'd kissed my cheek, tasting like expensive rum and lies, then disappeared upstairs, claiming exhaustion from all those presentations. Funny how a training seminar in Atlanta could give someone a perfect tan line. I pulled up our business checking account online, the blue glow of the laptop screen making me feel like I was troubleshooting a particularly stubborn electrical problem. The presidential suite wasn't alone. There were charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, places with names like Ocean Drive Bistro and Sunset Terrace. A payment to something called Sunset Yacht Charters for $800. A $400 charge at Victoria's Secret that made my stomach turn. All while I was home, running service calls, and wondering why my wife had suddenly developed such passion for professional development. My phone buzzed. A text meant for Brooke had come to my number instead. She'd been using my phone earlier when hers died during dinner. The message was simple, direct, and like a live wire to my chest. Miss you already, beautiful. When can we do this again? D. I knew exactly who D was. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself 3 fingers of Jack Daniels. The good stuff we saved for celebrating new contracts or when one of the kids graduated. This felt like something worth celebrating in a twisted way. After months of feeling like I was losing my mind, wondering why my wife had become a stranger in her own house, I finally had proof my gut was right. You develop instincts in this business when something's not grounded properly, when insulation is compromised, when someone's feeding you a line about why the breaker keeps tripping. The same instincts were telling me my marriage had been running on a faulty circuit for months. Damian Ross, personal trainer and owner of Elite Fitness, the new gym downtown, where I'd been doing electrical work for the past 6 months. I'd wired their entire facility from scratch. State-of-the-art sound system that probably cost more than my truck. Specialized lighting for their yoga studio that changed colors based on the workout intensity. Even installed charging stations for those fancy Tesla cars their clientele drove. Damian was everything I wasn't. 6'3", covered in sleeve tattoos, drove a lifted Dodge Ram with smokestacks and truck nuts hanging from the hitch. The kind of guy who called everyone bro and posted shirtless gym selfies on Instagram with motivational quotes about living your best life. We'd talked during the installation work, the way contractor and business owner do. He'd mentioned he was single, complained about how hard it was to find real women in a small town like Riverside, said he preferred older women, married women, because they knew what they wanted. At the time, I'd thought he was just making conversation, Now I realized he was sizing up his next target. I sat in my kitchen, bourbon burning my throat, and started to laugh. Not the happy kind, but the bitter sound a working man makes when he realizes he's been played for a fool by the woman he built a life for. The woman who used to pack my lunch every morning and worry when I was working on high-voltage systems. The woman who'd married an electrician's apprentice making $12 an hour and stuck with me through lean years, late nights, and the constant smell of wire insulation on my clothes. 22 years old when we got married, fresh out of trade school, both of us broke but convinced we could build something together. And we had built something. A successful business, 2 great kids, a house in a neighborhood where people still wave to their neighbors. Hudson was 17 now, a senior in high school planning to study engineering at Texas A&M. Iris was 19, home from her sophomore year at UT, smart as a whip and bound for law school. Everything we'd worked for, everything I'd built with my hands, and she was willing to risk it all for some muscle-bound pretty boy who probably couldn't wire a basic outlet without electrocuting himself. Brooke appeared in the doorway wearing the silk robe I'd bought her last Christmas, the one that cost me 2 days' profit, but was worth it to see her smile. That smile was nowhere to be found now, just tired eyes and the kind of guilt that hangs around someone like the smell of cigarette smoke. "Adrian, what are you doing up? I heard you laughing." "Just reading something funny online," I said, closing the laptop carefully. 20 years of marriage teaches you when to hold your cards close to your chest. "How was Atlanta?" "Exhausting. You know how these corporate things are." She moved to the refrigerator, pulling out a bottle of water with hands that trembled slightly. Either she was more tired than she looked, or her conscience was finally kicking in. The keynote speaker, this woman from Austin, had fascinating insights about grid modernization and renewable integration strategies. I nodded, already planning to look up the conference agenda in the morning. In my line of work, you learn to verify everything. Trust but verify, especially when the circuit diagram doesn't match what you're seeing in the junction box. "Well, I'm glad you found it educational. Learn anything useful for the company?" She paused, water bottle halfway to her lips, and I caught something flicker across her face. Fear, maybe, or the realization that she was walking through a minefield of her own lies. The usual. New regulations coming down the pipeline, market trends, networking opportunities with other regional managers. Networking, right. I finished my bourbon and stood up, keeping my movements casual, non-threatening. After 18 years running a business, you learn to read people. Brooke was spooked, but not enough to confess. Not yet. I should get to bed, early job tomorrow, rewiring the whole electrical panel at Murphy's auto shop. Old building, probably hasn't been updated since the Carter administration. As I passed her, she caught my arm with fingers that felt cold despite the Texas heat. "Adrian, is everything okay? You seem distant lately. More distant than usual, I mean." I looked into her hazel eyes, the same ones I'd fallen in love with when she was just a secretary at the electric co-op, making $8 an hour and dreaming of bigger things. Back then, those eyes held honesty, hope, and a kind of fierce loyalty that made me believe we could conquer the world together. Now, I saw a stranger looking back, someone who'd learned to lie so smoothly, she probably believed her own stories. "Just tired, Brooke. You know how it is when you're carrying the whole load." She flinched at that, and I wondered if she caught the double meaning. Probably not. People who live in lies tend to hear only what they want to hear. "I do. Get some sleep." I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, listening to her move around the kitchen below. The house we'd bought 15 years ago, with sweat equity and determination, working nights and weekends to turn a contractor's nightmare into something beautiful. She was probably texting Damien right now, telling him about her close call, maybe planning their next business conference. The thought should have made me furious, but instead I felt something colder, something more methodical. The same feeling I got when approaching a complex electrical problem. Assess the situation, identify the faulty components, develop a systematic plan to fix what's broken. The next morning, I arrived at the shop an hour early, something I'd been doing more often lately. Riverside Electrical occupied a converted warehouse on the east side of town, close enough to the industrial district that we could respond quickly to emergency calls from the refinery, far enough from downtown that the rent didn't kill us. 6 trucks in the parking lot, each one representing a skilled tradesman who depended on me for steady work and decent pay. My office manager, Chloe Martinez, found me pulling invoices in the back office when she arrived at 7:30. "Boss, you okay? You look like someone ran over your dog with a semi-truck." Chloe had worked with me for 6 years, since right after her divorce when she needed a job that offered flexibility and decent benefits. She was 34, sharp as a new wire stripper, and could read people like an electrical schematic. If anyone would understand what I was dealing with, it would be her. "Chloe, hypothetically speaking, if you caught your spouse cheating, what would you do?" She set down her coffee and gave me the kind of look that said she'd been waiting for this conversation for months. Hypothetically, I'd make sure I had all the facts before I did anything stupid. Documentation, evidence, witnesses. You can't fix a problem if you don't know exactly where the fault is. She paused, studying my face. "Why are we speaking hypothetically?" I showed her the hotel receipt and the text message, watching her expression shift from professional concern to something much more personal. The mother bear look that came out when someone threatened her cubs, or in this case, her boss who'd given her a chance when she needed it most. "Oh, boss. Oh, no. Oh, yes. And based on the timeline, this has been going on for at least 3 months, maybe longer." Chloe leaned against the filing cabinet, processing this information the way she processed everything, carefully, thoroughly, with an eye toward practical solutions. "What do you need from me?" "Nothing illegal, just keep your ears open. You know how this town works. Information flows faster than electricity through a copper wire." She nodded slowly. "People do talk. And you know what? I've been hearing some interesting things about Mrs. Pierce lately." "Such as?" "My cousin works at the Ironworks Grill. Says she's been seen there with a man who isn't you. Tall guy, drives that ridiculous truck with the smokestacks, always picking up the check. They sit in the back corner booth every Tuesday night, acting like teenagers at prom." Chloe's voice carried the kind of disgust that working people reserve for those who abuse trust. "Maria, that's my cousin. Didn't realize it was your wife until I described her. Said the woman always has this other lady with her, blonde, works at some big company, acts like she's running surveillance. Grace Morgan, Brooke's colleague at Texas Energy Solutions, the regional marketing director, who had always looked at me like I was something stuck to her designer shoe. I should have known she'd be involved. Grace was the kind of woman who saw marriage as a business arrangement and loyalty as a quaint concept for people who couldn't afford better options. The Ironworks was Riverside's main watering hole, the kind of place where oil workers and contractors went to unwind after 12-hour shifts. Dark wood, honest beer, and conversations that stayed in the bar. Brooke and I hadn't been there together in over a year, not since she'd started complaining it was too blue-collar for her new position at the energy company. Anything else? The word around town is this gym owner's got a reputation. My neighbor's daughter works at his front desk part-time, says he's been through half the married women in the county, calls himself a life coach, but really he's just a predator in gym shorts, targets women going through midlife transitions, tells them they deserve better than their boring husbands. I spent the rest of that day running service calls and thinking. Rewiring a dental office gave me 4 hours to plan, while my hands worked automatically, muscle memory taking over, while my brain processed the situation. By closing time, I had the beginning of a strategy. That evening, I waited until Brooke was in the shower before going through her purse. 18 years of marriage had taught me her habits. She always left her purse on the kitchen counter, always kept important things in the zippered compartments. What I found there changed everything. A second phone, sleek and expensive, one I'd never seen before, the kind of burner phone that people buy when they have something to hide. My hands shook slightly as I powered it on, already knowing what I'd find but hoping I was wrong. The message history told a story that made my stomach turn. Months of explicit messages, photos I definitely didn't want to see, and detailed plans not just for their Miami getaway, but for at least 3 other trips I'd been told were work-related. But the most recent exchange made my blood run cold. "Amazing trip, babe. You make me feel alive again. Brooke, you deserve so much more than that boring life. Your husband's too busy with his little electrical projects to appreciate what he has. Damien, sometimes I feel guilty. He works so hard for us. Brooke, guilt is just fear wearing a disguise. You've got one life. Beautiful. Live it for yourself. Damien, what if he finds out? Brooke, he won't. Guy like that doesn't have the imagination to suspect anything. And if he does get suspicious, Grace has a plan to make sure we come out ahead in any divorce. Damian Grace Morgan again. The marketing director who specialized in making problems disappear and competition look incompetent. I should have seen this coming. This wasn't just an affair. It was a coordinated campaign to destroy my marriage while protecting their interests. I photographed the relevant messages with my own phone, my hands steady now that I knew exactly what I was dealing with. This wasn't about passion or midlife crisis. This was about money, status, and the kind of calculated cruelty that comes from people who think they're smarter than everyone around them. When Brooke emerged from the bathroom 40 minutes later in a cloud of expensive perfume I'd never smelled before, I was reading a trade magazine in bed, the picture of a husband who suspected nothing. "Good day?" she asked, settling beside me in the silk robe that now seemed like costume jewelry, pretty but ultimately fake. "Productive?" Finished the dental office rewiring, started planning the bid for the new subdivision east of town. Could be a 6-figure contract if we get it. I kept my voice casual, conversational, but I was watching her reaction carefully. "That's wonderful. You work so hard." The words sounded right, but they felt rehearsed, like lines she'd practiced to maintain the illusion of caring. "What about you? Busy day at the office?" "The usual, though I might need to travel again next week. Another conference, this one in Phoenix. Grace is coming too. We're presenting on about market penetration strategies for renewable energy sectors." I almost choked on the irony, market penetration. Sounds important. It could be a real opportunity for advancement. The company's expanding their regional operations, and they're looking for managers who can handle bigger territories, more responsibility. More money, she meant, more status, more reasons to justify leaving the boring electrician husband behind. "How long will you be gone?" "Just 3 days, Thursday through Saturday. We fly out Thursday morning, presentation Friday, networking events Friday night and Saturday." She leaned over and kissed my cheek, the same perfume that belonged to someone else's fantasy. "I'll miss you." I wanted to laugh or scream or grab her by the shoulders and shake her until she remembered who we used to be. Instead, I smiled and squeezed her hand. "I'll miss you too." She rolled over and was asleep within minutes, probably dreaming of her muscle-bound lover and whatever escape plan Grace Morgan had cooked up. I lay awake until dawn, my mind working through the problem like I was designing a complex electrical system. Every affair needs infrastructure, opportunity, communication, financial resources. Every conspiracy requires coordination and weak points where the truth can leak through. My job was to find those weak points and exploit them systematically. The break I needed came 2 weeks later. Damian called the shop personally, his voice carrying that fake friendliness that guys like him use when they need something from people they look down on. "Hey Adrian bro, it's Damian from Elite Fitness. I've got a situation here, some kind of electrical problem that's making the whole place act weird. Can you come take a look? I'd really appreciate it." "I'll bet you would," I thought. "Sure thing, I'll be right over." I loaded my truck with more than just electrical tools. Hidden in my toolbox was a complete surveillance package. Wireless cameras no bigger than shirt buttons, audio recording devices that looked like electrical outlets, and motion sensors that could be disguised as smoke detectors, all perfectly legal to install in a business whose owner had requested electrical work. Elite Fitness was exactly what you'd expect from a guy trying to compensate for something. Chrome and mirrors everywhere, music pumping loud enough to damage your hearing, and the distinct smell of sweat, testosterone, and expensive supplements. Damian met me at the front desk, his handshake crushingly firm in that way insecure men think impresses people. "Thanks for coming so quick, bro. The power keeps cutting out in my office, and I've got important client files on my computer. Can't afford to lose that stuff, you know?" "I'll bet you can't," I thought, following him through the maze of exercise equipment. His office was a shrine to himself. Bodybuilding trophies, professional photos from his competition days, and certificates from various fitness organizations that probably existed mainly to sell certificates. But what caught my attention was the corkboard behind his desk, covered with Polaroid photos of him with various women. I recognized at least 4 wives from around town, all of them looking at him with the same starstruck expression my wife had been wearing lately. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, testing outlets with my multimeter while discreetly installing a camera behind his computer monitor. About 6 weeks, started right around the time I began working with this new client. High-maintenance woman, works for that energy company, real demanding about having everything perfect for our sessions. He was actually bragging about it. The guy was sleeping with my wife and couldn't resist telling me about it, even if he didn't think I knew who he was talking about. Married women can be complicated, I said, installing a second camera in the smoke detector above his desk. Not this one. Her husband's some boring contractor who's too busy working to pay attention to what she really needs. I'm helping her discover her potential, teaching her that she deserves better than settling for ordinary. I wanted to drop him right there with a pipe wrench, but I had a better plan. Well, your electrical problem is just a loose connection in the main panel. Should be fine now, but you might want to have the whole system inspected soon. Building this age, you never know what's hiding behind the walls. Thanks, man. What do I owe you? Call it a professional courtesy. Just remember Riverside Electrical when you're ready for that full inspection. Over the next 3 weeks, my surveillance system captured everything I needed. Brooke and Damien's afternoon meetings in his office while I was supposedly out on service calls. Grace Morgan's visits to plan their next moves, complete with detailed discussions about how to maximize Brooke's divorce settlement while minimizing any financial consequences for the affair. And most damaging of all, recorded conversations about their scheme to systematically drain both my business accounts and Brooke's company credit cards to fund their romantic getaways. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Harper Wells, Brooke's assistant at Texas Energy Solutions, called me at the office on a Friday afternoon, her voice shaky with nerves. "Mr. Pierce, I need to talk to you about your wife. It's important, and I could lose my job for this." We met at a coffee shop on the other side of town, somewhere neither of us would be recognized. Harper was 26, fresh out of college, the kind of honest kid who still believed in doing the right thing even when it cost her something. "I could lose my job for this," she repeated, nervously stirring her latte. "But what they're doing is wrong, and you deserve to know." "What are they doing, Harper?" "Mrs. Pierce and Grace have been using company credit cards for personal expenses. They've been billing fake training seminars and conferences, then using the money for trips that have nothing to do with work." She pulled out a manila folder, thick with documents. "It's all here. Forged receipts, fake vendor invoices, even expense reports for conferences that don't exist. That Miami trip, the company paid for it, but there was never any conference. They created a fake registration, fake hotel confirmations, everything. I opened the folder and saw months of systematic fraud laid out like a blueprint. How much are we talking about? At least $18,000 over the past 6 months, maybe more. And that's just what I can prove. There are probably other expenses I haven't found yet. The number hit me like a live wire. $18,000. More than some people made in a year, stolen to fund my wife's midlife crisis and her boyfriend's expensive lifestyle. "Harper, why are you telling me this?" "Because you're a good man and you don't deserve this. I've watched your wife change over the past year, and it's been painful to see. She used to talk about you with respect, even pride. Now she acts like you're an embarrassment, something holding her back from the life she thinks she deserves." That evening, I made copies of everything Harper had given me and called Detective Eva Santos, an old friend from high school who joined the sheriff's department after college. Eva had always been the smartest kid in our class, the one who saw through everyone's bullshit and wasn't afraid to call it out. "Eva, I need to report embezzlement, adultery, and conspiracy. And I need it done by the book so nothing gets thrown out on technicalities." 2 weeks later, the hammer fell. Texas Energy Solutions launched an internal investigation that quickly uncovered the extent of Brooke and Grace's scheme. Both were fired immediately, facing criminal charges that could put them away for years. The company, terrified of the liability implications, cooperated fully with law enforcement to minimize their exposure. Damien, confronted with evidence of his role in the conspiracy and facing charges as an accessory to embezzlement, panicked. Turned out the bad boy wasn't so tough when facing real consequences. His lawyer advised him to cooperate with authorities, which led to a confession that detailed every aspect of their relationship and the financial crimes they'd committed together. But I wasn't done yet. The confrontation I'd been planning for months came on a Saturday morning in early May, 3 months after I'd first found that hotel receipt. Brooke was in the kitchen making coffee, probably wondering why her world was suddenly falling apart, when I walked in with a manila folder and set it on the counter like a contractor presenting a final bill. "We need to talk." "About what?" she asked, but her voice had lost all its confidence. The entitled woman who'd been living a double life for months had been replaced by someone who looked cornered and desperate. I opened the folder and spread out the evidence like electrical blueprints. Bank statements showing the embezzled funds, hotel receipts from their various trips, photos from the ironworks, screenshots from her secret phone, and Harper's documentation of the corporate fraud. "This is your boyfriend's confession," I said, showing her the statement Damien had given to avoid prosecution. "Turns out tough guys don't like the idea of prison. He gave up everything: dates, places, amounts, even your plans to take me for half my business in the divorce." The color drained from her face as she read his statement. 20 pages of detailed testimony about their affair, her complaints about our marriage, and Grace's strategy to destroy my reputation while maximizing Brooke's settlement. "Adrian, I can explain." "No need. I know everything. The fake conferences, the embezzled money, the whole sordid affair. But here's what. You don't know." I pulled out one final document. Medical records I'd obtained through my lawyer after Damien's confession revealed another ugly truth. "Your muscle-bound boyfriend has been using illegal steroids for years. Not just any steroids, contaminated ones from an underground supplier who's been linked to hepatitis C contamination. He's been exposed, and based on the timeline of your relationship, so have you." Brooke's hands started shaking as she read the medical documentation. "That's not..." "He said he was clean." "When's the last time we were intimate, Brooke? 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? Right before you decided to take your relationship with him to the next level." She sank into a chair, the reality hitting her like a surge through damaged wiring. Everything she'd risked our marriage for, the excitement, the passion, the promise of a better life, had poisoned her in the most literal sense possible. "You need to get tested, today." The test results came back positive 10 days later. Hepatitis C, treatable but requiring months of expensive medication and constant medical monitoring. Her insurance, lost when Texas Energy fired her, wouldn't cover the treatment. Brooke moved out that week, taking only what she could fit in her car. Grace had already fled town after her arrest, leaving Brooke to face the consequences alone. Damien's gym went bankrupt when news of his steroid use and multiple affairs spread through our tight-knit community. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. My lawyer, armed with evidence of adultery and embezzlement, ensured I kept the house, the business, and primary custody of both kids. Brooke, facing criminal charges and mounting medical bills, agreed to a settlement that left her with almost nothing. Hudson and Iris handled the divorce better than I'd expected. Kids are resilient, and they'd seen their mother's behavior change over the past year. They chose to stay with me, visiting Brooke twice a month in Dallas, where she'd found work as a receptionist at an insurance office, making barely enough to cover her rent and medication. 12 months later, I was sitting on my front porch with a cold beer, watching the sunset over the Colorado River, when Chloe stopped by with the latest town gossip and a smile that meant good news. "Heard from my cousin in Dallas," she said, settling into the chair beside me. "Brooke's working 60 hours a week just to make ends meet. Grace is waiting tables at some truck stop outside Austin, and Damien moved back in with his mother after his conviction. Any regrets about how it all went down?" I considered the question seriously. About protecting myself and my kids, about exposing criminals who were stealing from their employers, about making sure people faced consequences for their actions. No regrets at all. My phone buzzed with a text from Hudson, now a sophomore at A&M. "Dad, bringing someone home for dinner Sunday. Think you'll like her?" I smiled and typed back, looking forward to it. The stars were coming out over Riverside, painting the sky like points of light on a vast circuit board. It was going to be a beautiful night, and for the first time in years, I had nothing to worry about. I'd lost a wife, but I'd gained something more valuable, proof that sometimes the only way to fix what's broken is to rewire the whole system. And when you do it right, with patience and precision, everything works exactly the way it should. The beer tasted like victory, and victory tasted like coming home.